Hello everyone, my name is Pojo, and today we're looking at a Nictotraxian Control deck. Jekk's Bounty has just released, so we're playing around with a lot of new brews with these new cards, and the one that has turned out to be just the most fun ever is Nictotraxian, the 5-color, 8/8 flying dragon that has Fate, create and draw a random card. Nictotraxian is the Clank antagonist for the board game Clank, so a shared universe between those two delightful times. This card is a lot of fun. It really just ends up creating a lot of cool situations, and it requires that you build a deck that's a little bit different and a little bit weird. So we opted for a 3-color control archetype that tended to be pretty common in the closed beta, and we modified it just a little bit. And the basic idea behind it is that you play like a decent amount of Combre and Elysian cards to control the board, getting like Lightning Storm and Harsh Rule as your big sweepers. These basically mean that you have a decent amount of control over aggro decks and can stall the game out to a decent amount of time. Then you also use cards like Seek Power and Find a Way to make sure that you're fixing power every turn and reliably getting to your 6, 7, 8, and 9 drops. And finally, Find the Way and Seek Power together means that you have access to, if you want, just 1 or 2 splash cards. So you can splash for a little bit of purple, which is the primary reason that you splash here, so that you can throw Azindel's Gift at your opponent. And you can splash for 1 red for Nictotraxian, so that you can fill out that 5 colors and make your things happen. And yeah, this is pretty good stuff. So Nictotraxian by herself is the theme of the deck aside from the overall control archetype. You can run this deck without Nict. You just take out the Second Sight's Twinning Rituals and Nict herself and replace it with like Excavates and other things, and you have like kind of a cool control archetype that works really well. But we want to add a little fun to it, and Nict is actually really good at making sure that you have a lot of card advantage and that you can sort of overwhelm your opponent with cards, because you can just create a bunch of cards with her, and then she plays down as a very formidable dragon that is actually pretty hard to kill at 8 cost. She just doesn't die to direct damage, she has a stupidly good clock, and the multicolor means that she's not capable of getting killed by Annihilates or other things. So she's not terribly vulnerable, and she's also pretty good at pressuring your opponent. And she creates an extra card, so she generates tempo advantage and card advantage at 7, which means that if you can fix for her and you can play her out, that's a pretty good deal. So yeah, we Twinning Ritual Nictotraxian to trigger the Fate ability over and over again. We also use Second Sight to put it on top of our deck, and Elysian Pathfinder to give it Echo, so that Second Sight and Twinning Ritual both make extra copies of Nictotraxian. This is just a one of, sort of a fun of, and likewise with Excavate, a card that incurs some negative card advantage, but makes it very easy to trigger a combo like this, as well as to recur something like Harsh Rule when you're in a pinch. So something to be used as a last resort for the most part, but Excavate is a very strong card for this particular situation. Beyond that, we have a decent amount of small removal spells. This one opts for Permafrosts and Auric Runehammers. You can swap that for any sort of single target removal you want. Feeding Time is not really recommended. I wouldn't splash too heavily into Shadow for this, but going for things like Vanquish or Lightning Strike. We run 2 Decays here because we tend to see a lot of Armory decks at the moment. But any sort of like addition to the control package, you swap cards like Permafrost, Decay, and Auric Runehammer for those cards. You also pretty much always keep 4 Lightning Storms and 4 Harsh Rules. Those cards are just allowing you to control aggro and get like massive card advantage out of the board. And in order to force the board to be in a situation where Harsh Rule and Lightning Storm get excellent value, you play at least 1 Eye of Winter, which allows you to stun a unit for 2 per turn. This tends to always lock down 1 unit at a time. And then it also makes your opponent play out more units onto the board, which enables Harsh Rule to be really beneficial, and then resets you on Eye of Winter so that the next card that your opponent plays down is also going to be permanently stunned. So it's a very flexible card in that regard. It does require a lot of power, but this deck is very good at making a lot of power, so that's something that you really want to consider. Beyond that, we have card draw with Wisdom of the Elders, and we run 2 Celestial Omens to pick out the important kill cards from our deck. So in any sort of big game, Like, we're not trying to win out just on card advantage. We're also trying to finish the game with powerful, powerful finishers. Azindel's Gift is the anti-control card, and it's a very solid one at that. Makes people discard their hands. This tends to be useful against most of the slow decks, and it can be crushing for certain control decks. This also makes it so that Nictotraxian is a really appealing play because it's very hard to kill a Nictotraxian on an empty hand. You're just not going to top deck into that many answers to the card. Sword of the Sky King, an 8/8 that is also fairly difficult to answer if you have an Azindel's Gift down. This card just always gets a lot of value and can be a finisher when your opponent has played as many cards as you have and is starting to run low on gas. Scourge of Frosthome locks down enemy spells. This is another way to sort of lock down that control archetype. We usually lock down the aggro archetype with Harsh Rule and Lightning Storm. So once we get up to 10, if you're in top deck mode, again, Scourge of Frosthome is just sort of the finisher, the way to end the game itself. And of course, you have Nictotraxian herself. There's a little bit of stall here in Lumen Defender with that deadly ability. So yeah, you know, like that is the extra health. The deadly is usually not as relevant as the extra health, but it's nice to have one of these as a reserve against token decks, just because Lightning Storm and Harsh Rule don't always quite get you there. Beyond that, just Auric Runehammers, you have your standard removal suite, you have second sights, you have Find the Ways. You'll often second sight the Find the Way just to make sure that you get lots and lots of extra power, but usually you will draw all of the power that you need in this deck. So that's the basic idea behind the Nictotraxian deck. Let's see how it plays with a couple of games. Cheers. Alright, we're up against Cliff, Seat of Progress, Time Sigil, and Fire Sigil. So we have access to 2 of the colors we need, but not the blue, which is really probably the most important. Let's go ahead and redraw here. You really want blue and yellow first so that you have access to Find the Way, and so that you can actually get some cool draws off of that. Let's go ahead and do that. Find the Way twice will get us up to double green, and we want to do that pretty quick, but I think we probably have time to second sight and get Find the Way on top. That way we have a little bit more power search. We can easily get some power out of our deck and thin our deck a little bit for the future. Now this turn, we don't intend to play anything on turn with our remaining third powers. So rather than play the Seat of Order, we're going to Find the Way, grab a green, and play that depleted power. Therefore we don't waste any power, and we have effectively played out for our turn. Cliff is playing some sort of Felm deck. Looks pretty interesting. Seat of Order would be okay here, and I think that like getting rid of the Gorgon Fanatic is probably right. I would like a silence effect of some kind. Desert Marshal would be quite strong here. We'll go ahead and Auric Runehammer. So Desert Marshal might actually be a strong consideration for this deck. Alright, now we probably see the Haunting Scream, but we might get lucky. Now a Recurring Nightmare. Alright, that's a tough card to deal with. We're definitely going to have to find an answer to that pretty soon, because our current setup doesn't actually look all that great for that. We will play a Time Sigil. I'll go ahead and play Lumen Defender down. Get my health a little high. As far as removal spells go, we aren't running Lightning Strikes. I think we're actually very, very short on potential options against this card. Oathbook hurts quite a bit. That makes the clock even faster. Azindel's Gift is our answer, though. Oh, and I messed it up. I actually should have found the way first so that I could get the remaining power that we needed. Okay, we might actually end up drawing it. But if I can Azindel's Gift him, then Recurring Nightmare will no longer be able to stay in his hand. He'll only be able to draw Haunting Screams to finish me off. So here comes 6, and then we basically have to... Alright. We're actually in really good shape here. If I draw an undepleted power, which I did, I can just Azindel's Gift him. And that's it for our Recurring Nightmare problems. He didn't leave power up for Protect, which was a really good time to gift him. If you can actually prevent the gift, that's pretty stellar. Okay, and no Recurring Nightmare this time, no 6 damage. He's getting War Cries with Copperhall Bailiff, and I don't think I really like that. Protecting himself doesn't seem to do much. We'll Harsh Rule here. And it's fine to do that since we basically set up... Yeah, the Protect actually does block 1 discard from the Azindel's Give. So he's got 1 more turn to play out cards that are useful to him. No blocks there. He protects himself again. I might just Excavate Lumen Defender here. No, I think we need to draw. So we're gonna go Wisdom. Play our Fire Sigil. And I can Harsh Rule this to just get it off the board. One last go with Recurring Nightmare. 12 damage. 13 now. And Haunting Scream is the true terror. Alright, I will activate Auric Runehammer here. Oh, well, I didn't actually have the power for that. But it's okay, we had Harsh Roll. So we play the Justice Sigil depleted. And from here, activating Auric Runehammer does actually seem like a pretty strong choice. Or excavating Harsh Rule again. Alright, so the Recurring Nightmare deck is mostly handled. A Haunting Scream or a big unit really threatens us a lot. Anything else is mostly inconsequential. Eye of Winter is a perfect thing to use here. We do need to establish Scourge of Frosthome as soon as possible, because if we let him get a Haunting Scream off, he wins. So... okay, that's 3 damage. Not ideal, but also not a big problem. We'll pop the Aegis there. And end my turn. The Justice Sigil does its justicey thing. Sword of the Sky King gets us health. Puts us in command. Alright, so now there's no Haunting Scream, he can only play units. I don't think he has an out here. We should be able to kill him from here. And let's see if we can get some Nyx help. We'll just deplete the rest of our power and get it out of our deck so we have a better chance of drawing into bombs. Okay, so now if he draws a Black Sky Harbinger, I run into a little bit more trouble. Probably going to Celestial Omen here for... there's an answer that I can get that's good. It would be nice, but I don't think we have anything that's specifically good against what he's currently running. So we're just going to grab Nictotraxian and get a random card. Ah, Treasury Gate. Cute. Okay. Playing for 8 here. And play a Treasury Gate. Because why not? We could also play Nictotraxian. She pushes lethal in a way that Treasury Gate does not. But Treasury Gate, you know? Alright. So that looks like game for Cliff here. Pretty intense game. There aren't... I do recommend running Desert Marshals in this deck, and I think we're actually going to side some in. since I completely forgot it when I was building the deck. So we'll go ahead and put those in now. Alright, recording again, we put Desert Marshals into the deck. We took out 1 Decay, 1 Permafrost, and 1 Twinning Ritual, just to make sure that we had a little bit more early removal. Opening hand's a little bit weak. I want like a little bit more in terms of blue, so we're going to redraw here. This is not bad though. Mostly the early spread we're looking for. Alright, Find the Way is going to fix us into blue, and Nictotraxian is going to give us something to play with. An Eye of Winter. Actually really useful to have 2 Eye of Winters in this deck. Usually can't quite fit them, but good to be playing it down. Alright, so we'll play a time. Then we will play a Justice and search for a blue. Tempting to run Desert Marshal out as well, but Eye of Winter should be able to deal with this problem. Alright, so I need the blue, and I probably need double blue. I would like to Find the Way less here, but I think we're just going to have to go for it. Yeah, if I Find the Way again here, then that's nice. I will play Eye of Winter next turn, I think. So we could just Twinning if we wanted to, but that would leave me with an overabundance of cards. I might as well just grab my double blue while I can get it. And discard. Okay, I've got blue, I need a double green, and I need a red, so the Find the Ways are actually pretty important. Lumen Defender's good for helping us out. Desert Marshal's probably not that crucial here, but it's decent. We could also just discard Nictotraxian here. I want Lumen Defender for card stuff. I guess this is actually like kind of a control deck, so let's discard the Lumen Defender. We're not too worried about getting pressured out here. And we got our Desert Marshal, okay. So, play a blue. I could have played an undepleted one for Shadow, but yeah, I think I'd actually rather just seek power, grab a Justice, end my turn. Got that 2-3 now, along with the 3-2. And Desert Marshal solves the problem of the Infiltrator quite nicely. Alright, so Eye of Winter plus Justice Sigil allows us to pop this Aegis. And then we can start working on Nictotraxian plays. My own unit's silenced. He's playing into the board now, which is what we want him to do for the most part. I'm going to Twinning Ritual Nictotraxian, just for fun. Make a second Nict, and Nict makes an Eye of Winter, not bad. Play a Shadow Sigil. Stun the 3-5. And Find the Way will get us a red for Nictotraxian, and allow us to play the Northwind Herald for free. That's a pretty good deal. We now have a blocker for the flyer. Not quite as good now, but what a bummer. Oh, and Recurring Nightmares in this deck, huh? Alright. Well, that means we're definitely going to have to play Nictotraxian sometime soon. I'm going to Second Sight here. Got another Nictotraxian, and a Touch of the Umbran, which I think is actually a pretty solid choice here. Go ahead and push that down. Gotta Find the Way for some more power because I'm going to use Eye of Winter this turn. And let's lock down... I'm gonna say the Steward. Okay. The Touch of the Umbran steals a 3-3 for me. But I can also just play out my own units. Let's play a Nictotraxian. Unfortunately, that leaves us blocking a lot of stuff this turn, but we'll be okay. Okay, my opponent actually didn't want to play into that, which is good news. So from here, we can steal the 3/3. That gives us a little bit of health gain, and another unit to stand in the way of Recurring Nightmare. Go ahead and sit still. Seek power. He can eventually just play like a Harsh Rule type effect. Combination of Plague and other things is pretty scary. And he plays the Recurring Nightmare out, which is interesting and maybe not right. Alright, so I can now stun that whenever I want, which seems reasonable. Let's Wisdom. Got the Auric Runehammer, which is a pretty solid card for this. Alright, and we just have enough control stuff that he decided to forfeit. That Celestial Omen would get us into Desert Marshal, so that puts us in a pretty good position. And yeah, overall we just won out on card advantage. I don't think he should have forfeited that early, but that's okay. Good game. Alright. Who's up? Mercine. Second Sight. Got Find the Way access. So yeah, this hand's pretty decent. Play Seat of Progress out. And from here, we're just going to be trying to find power. We've got double green, we need to get blue for Second Sight. And for Lightning Storm, it turns out. I'm going to grab a blue here. Maybe that's not strictly necessary, but it seems right. Stonescar Banner probably means my opponent is in Jito, but no guarantees. Blue, red, purple. Let's go ahead and go with a first blue. Let's play that out. He doesn't play anything this turn. He's got a Cabal Countess, and we're gonna have to take our licks from it and then Lightning Storm it. See, he was giving some serious thought to playing something else there. Alright, and we did okay. So we're gonna find the way. Grab a red, but we're going to play an undepleted power this turn so we can Lightning Storm. 2 cards for 1. We're only at 21. He got some War Cries down, but everything else looks pretty good here. I will not be able to play Harsh Rule this turn, so another assembly line could be kind of a bad deal. Dark Return gets you back an Oni Ronin. That's a pretty sizable amount of damage. Alright, and Seed of Warrior gives us Harsh Rule, so let's get another 2 for 1 and then set up Lumen Defender. We want to keep this board fairly clear of threats. It's a little bit aggressive, but the 2 for 1s here are really, really helpful, and since we're following this up with Lumen Defender, we should have enough good options. Yep, and there's the Bandit Queen for the kill spell, so that works out pretty well for us. Lumen Defender picks up our health a little bit and gives us a blocker for tokens. From here, it should be pretty straightforward. We got the Lightning Storm and the Harsh Rule off. We're on time with our plans. Let me go ahead and block this. I still haven't actually seen what the War Cries are on. Oh, there was one on the Grenin drone. That's right. So find the way here. I'm gonna go ahead and Wisdom. Play out as many cards as we can. Just get ourselves access to another Harsh Rule if we can get it. Alright, not much there, so we're at a little bit of risk. If he plays any more threats down, this could actually be kind of bad for us. And I guess he didn't have any more, so good games. And that's it for today's Eternal Brews. Here's the updated list with the Desert Marshals in touch. That'll be the one that's down below in the description. So when we have this fully uploaded, that'll be there for you guys to see. We do like this deck a lot. It's pretty hard to get all of the control elements going against a very fast, aggressive style. So when that happens, you have to cut down the Nictotraxians a little bit, and you have to push in more removal. Think about what the meta is. With control decks, it's always about updating your package to better reflect whatever it is that you're seeing on the board. So like we could end up like straying further into Shadow to get some actual stray into Shadow. We could do some other fun things here, like put in Lightning Strikes. I certainly was running 2 Decays yesterday because we just saw a lot of different stuff, but today a lot of different Armory decks. Today, I didn't see as many Armory decks. I saw a lot more Jito and a lot more Rakano, so we cut at least one of the Decays and moved up on the Lightning Storms and early threats, and that worked out a little bit better. Yeah, so this deck, definitely one that you want to fiddle with a lot and alter to your personal tastes. And that's important to know about pretty much any control list. They're not going to work right out the bat because the meta changes like almost day by day in Eternal, which is always fun. So just be aware of that and make sure that you have your deck sort of prepared to face whatever the current like darling archetypes are, and that'll get you very, very far. Thanks for watching, everyone. Feel free to like or subscribe. We recently made Twitch partner, so if you want to subscribe to our Twitch, that is also something that you can do. We stream 6 p.m. PSTs on weekdays at the moment, but yeah, that's a little bit of cross promotion. So anyways, thanks for watching, everyone. Have a really nice day.